Welcome to episode 91 of the Twig Snapper Podcast. Today we're joined by Allie Cimis. She is currently on the William and Smith women's hockey team. Allie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. It's a beautiful day here. It's like, cool breeze and gorgeous out, and I don't know, can't complain. No complaints on a Sunday. Are you having a good summer? Doing a lot of training?
I am having a good summer. I've been doing a lot of training, but I just got back from a vacation in Martha's Vineyard, which was really nice to just take a week off.
That
Yeah.
sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was really
I'm
nice.
jealous. All these people are going on like fun trips. A little bit jealous.
Yeah, it was gorgeous.
I'm sure it was. So when did you start playing hockey? Were you really young? Were you a little bit older? When did it start for you?
So I first was on skates when I was 3, but I wasn't like playing. I was just like free skating. But I started joining like practices and kind of like playing games when I was about 6 or 7. And I kind of picked it up after my older brother because I was like in this weird phase where I had to do everything my older brother was doing.
Yeah. So you started skating, you skated for like 3 or 4 years, and then you moved into actually like kind of starting to play organized hockey.
Yeah.
Do you think that made it easier? Because like you were on skates for a little bit before like learning the game of hockey? Or do you think it made it harder because you didn't like jump into hockey right away?
I feel like it made it easier because the way that we did it when I was young is like there was like a house league and a travel league. So I was able to jump right into the travel league, which was kind of like the players who kind of had more experience and more skill. And then the house league was for the kids who were still kind of trying to learn. So I kind of was able to just jump right into travel league and play like cross-ice mites when I was like 6.
Yeah.
So
did you play a lot of other sports growing up? I think I saw you on your Instagram, you played field hockey, but did you play other sports growing up?
Yeah, I played field hockey and lacrosse.
And was there ever a point where you like didn't know which sport you wanted to like devote all your time to, or was it like pretty clear you just loved hockey and hockey was number one?
It was my whole life. I started playing hockey competitively before I started playing lacrosse and field hockey competitively. And I had been playing with boys my whole life. So by the time I got to 3rd and 4th grade, when I picked up a field hockey stick, and then like 5th grade, when I picked up a lacrosse stick, I found that I didn't like it as much because there wasn't as much contact and there was too many rules and whistles.
Yeah, I had a field hockey player on a while back, and talking about like the different rules with contact and different things. Yeah, it's definitely, there is contact, but definitely not the same as like ice hockey. And so that's like, so you liked the contact, you liked all that.
Yeah, I played with boys up until like there was hitting, I think. Like I think it didn't move to girls until you could like check. So I was always playing like, and I have an older brother, and he used to like dress me up in goalie gear and take slap shots at me in the driveway when I was like 8. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that sounds like the like classic story you always hear. Like the older sibling forces the younger, like you're getting net, and I'm just gonna fire pucks at you.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh man, it must just be what you got to do when you've got an older sibling that plays hockey. It's just part of life. You have to go through that phase. You have to do it.
Oh yeah, you have to go through the phase of sitting through their hockey tournaments, and you have to watch, and then it's like, I want to do this myself. Like I don't want to just watch.
And then by the time you do it, they're like already moved on and like so busy in their life, they don't have to sit through yours.
Pretty much. Yep. Pretty much.
You just get the short end of the stick because you were born later. Like
yeah. Yep. Exactly.
So did you always want to play college hockey? Like, was that something that you had thought about when you were younger, or did that come up later? When did that kind of idea first enter your mind?
I think once 8th grade and like high school hit, because I was one of those kids who was right before the cutoff where you could like get recruited as an 8th grader. So when I was in 8th grade, it kind of like hit me that there are like people around me, like some even like my teammates that I'd been playing on, that were committing to play college hockey when we were like 12 or 13, which was like kind of nuts to me at the time. And I remember like thinking like I feel like I have so many years before I know what I want to do and like where I want to play. And then at that point, I kind of hit me like I was like, I guess I kind of have to decide like if this is something I want to do after high school or not, because I feel like everyone's now taking it more seriously. Either everyone's already committing to a school or they're like focusing more in on that sport. Like they're deciding they want to go to prep schools or like they're deciding they want to go to hockey academies. And it's like, I guess I gotta figure out if this is something I really want to do.
Yeah, it's hard, talking to a lot of people, obviously. I mean, you're so young and you've got to make all these life decisions, like where do you want to go to school? And you got to like pick your future. What do you want to do? And it's a lot of pressure for young kids who are just trying to figure out life.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're
And
big decisions.
yeah, I think for me, I would always like found it. I loved it. Like I played it year round all the time. Like probably wasn't a month out of the year that I wasn't playing hockey, but I had never really thought about college until it kind of like hit me. And then I was like, I guess like, yeah, I do want to do this in college. Like I do it all the time. So I don't really want to stop after high school.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can keep going, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it was year round. Like, it kind of sounds like the hockey is life, like a nonstop, like that's all you want to do is play hockey. It would be hard to give that up when that's like all you've known growing up and that's all you do. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
easy to just like all of a sudden like, oh, I'm done forever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so was your recruiting process easy? Was it hard? Was it stressful?
It was very, very difficult. I especially I'm sure you've gotten this a lot. The pandemic has kind of was
Yeah,
because when
threw
I
a
was a
wrench in.
junior, yeah, when I was a junior, when I did my second junior year, that's when COVID hit, which is kind of like the recruiting year, your junior year. And we couldn't go to tournaments, we couldn't like see coaches, you couldn't do any of that. And that's when like the cutoff like begins, when you can start like talking to coaches. And so I had already gotten like a late start because I hadn't started like really my recruiting process until COVID was over, which was like the summer before my senior year, because that's when I could start going to events again and recruiting processes. And like coaches had seen me before, but they hadn't seen me in like a year and a half. And then I actually broke my wrist my senior fall.
Oof.
And so I didn't play like that much my senior year of high school at all. I got
Yeah.
surgery in like December. And so I was out until like mid-February. And by the time mid-February came around, like season was pretty much over. So that was really rough. And that was like, I was not sure if people were going to pull their offers or like to decommit me, what the deal was, because I was injured. And so yeah, it was quite stressful.
So with that wrist injury, I mean, after you had the injury and you were recovering and then you got back into playing hockey, did you notice any differences with like your stick work? Like, was it harder? Did it feel different, or did it heal up just like you'd never done anything to it?
It was definitely a lot different because I had broken my wrist and then I got plated with 6 screws, but I had also torn all of the cartilage and the ligaments that connect my other like bones. And so that was honestly harder to rehab than the actual bone itself. So it took me months to get my range of motion back and my strength back. And I had to actually get new sticks with lighter, like an easier flex to
Yeah.
start playing hockey again, because I couldn't put as much pressure on my stick with my wrist still being so weak, because it was in like a sling for 3 months. And so even my whole shoulder had like lost all of its strength. So it took me months to regain my like entire range of motion, my shoulder, my wrist, my elbow, all of it. So
How did you injure your wrist?
I was playing hockey, fall hockey. And I don't like it was so weird because I didn't even like fall down and my teammates didn't even notice, but I had kind of like went to go get the puck from this girl and she like kind of ran into me and my elbow like pinned against my body and the
Oh,
stick like was against my palm, and it just like her body crunched against my hand, and it just broke. And I knew it immediately. Like all my fingers went numb. I dropped the stick and I skated off the ice and I was like, I just broke my hand. And everyone was like, no, you didn't break it. Like, you're fine. I was like, no. It's like most definitely broken. I just broke it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that does not sound fun at all.
No, it was very stressful.
Yeah. And I'm sure that, like you said, that the rehabbing and like it's like you gotta like learn things again and like get that strength back. It's difficult. Did you have any other injuries growing up, or was that the main like big injury that you had?
I had gotten a pretty good concussion from field hockey the year before, but I had recovered from that pretty well. But other than that, like this was my first like I'd never gotten surgery before. I'd never really
Ooh,
like broken a major bone before.
yeah.
So this was all like all at once. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is all happening right now.
Right.
Yeah.
In the middle of recruiting with like all these other stressors and like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
you made it through it, and you ended up at Endicott, where I know before we got on the episode, you mentioned that you guys had a really big team, so it was hard to get playing time. But in the playing time you did get, you did well. You had 3 assists, and you had 4 games and +6. I mean, pretty good stats for the small amount of playing time you got. So I mean, for your first season of college hockey, did you find it hard to adjust? Like, was it a hard adjustment for you?
Yeah, I think it was I think pretty much the speed and the skill was pretty similar to what I've been playing in club, but I think the biggest difference for me was like um the fact that every day you go to practice, like you're competing against your own teammates for a spot in the like lineup. And we had a large roster, and I'm a defenseman, and we had 12 defensemen, and only certain amount played every game. And then also we had not graduated any defensemen year prior. So in 2022, no defenseman had graduated. So then we had added me and another freshman defenseman, but not removed anyone. So we were kind of fighting for spots that didn't really exist at the same time. So it was like you're competing against juniors and seniors who have been here for 3 and 4 years, who really know the game well and like know. And I think the biggest adjustment is knowing what your new coach wants. I think that was my biggest adjustment, honestly. Less about like the speed and the skill and more about just like learning about adjusting to a new coach and kind of learning what they like to see and what they on what they want to see out of their players, because it's not always easy. Like you've had pretty much like similar coaches, but for me it was a big change trying to adjust to what my new coach wanted.
Yeah.
So
So did the fact of like the not having as much playing time, being on a bigger team, did that factor into you wanting to transfer, or were there other reasons and why you wanted to transfer?
yeah, I think for me it was really difficult to be on a large roster, and I mean it's pretty much like that anywhere, so that was kind of like less a factor. But I think for me, as I said before, was I was having issues like adjusting to the coaching. And I think that my relationship wasn't always the best with that. And I think for me, was looking for a new opportunity to kind of experience some different coaching. And I also that at the same time I also had schools with opportunities that were better for my major. And so I was at the same time, I loved my team at Endicott, and I had like an amazing time, and I loved it, and I loved the people there, and the place is amazing. But I just felt like for me, William Smith was better for me, like a better fit for me academically as well as athletically.
Did you have William and Smith in mind, like when you entered the portal, like you knew where you wanted to go, or did that come out later?
I knew that William Smith was my top choice when I entered the portal. They were in close second when I had first started the recruiting process, and I would I was back and forth between Endicott and William Smith for a while, and I couldn't decide where I wanted to go. And so I knew I was open. I had been open to other like rosters and other like places, but I think for me, I knew like William Smith was my top choice, like when I first entered the portal.
Yeah. So you're pretty excited for new season, new place, new everything coming up?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Actually, a lot of my Endicott teammates are friends with the William Smith girls. So in a couple weeks here, we're doing Beantown as a combined team, which is kind of fun, actually.
Yeah.
Just to play with like my old teammates, my new teammates, see my old friends, and like meet all the new people. Like I'm really excited for all this like new stuff, new place too. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah. It should be a fun upcoming year for sure.
Hmm.
So when you're not playing hockey, just based on looking at your Instagram, you look like you're pretty big into fishing.
I am. I am.
What
I do
specific
love to
type of
fish.
fishing? Like, what's your go-to, or do you just like any kind of fishing you can do ever?
So I do love, my favorite's deep sea fishing, but I live in Vermont and there's no coastline here, so I don't get to go deep sea fishing quite all often. So I actually picked up fly fishing last year. I started to learn from my dad, and so, which is really an art. It's very difficult. I caught a lot of trees when I started. A lot of
Oh yeah,
trees.
I'm sure. I've
Yeah.
never done it. I'd like to try someday, but yeah, I've never done it. It looks hard.
Oh, it's very difficult, and my dad is very good at it, so he's been teaching me. And so I we go to the rivers and stuff around here to catch trout and all that stuff, and it's really fun. And I kind of had felt like before I started fly fishing, people would always ask me like what I like to do outside of hockey, and I would always kind of like sit there and look at them like, hmm, I'm not sure. So I couldn't really answer that question. Like, I like to hang out with my friends, like I like to go to the gym, all that stuff. But I was like, what, like, do I have a hobby outside of like, I don't really think I did. So then I kind of picked up fly fishing, and I really liked it, and I've been doing it um for a while. Since last spring I started really doing it consistently. I had been a few times with my dad, but then last spring I really decided like I want to get the gear, I want to get into this. So yeah, it's been really fun.
What's the biggest fish you've caught fly fishing?
Like a 22-inch rainbow trout.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about deep sea fishing? What's the biggest, craziest fish you've caught?
Hmm. That's a hard one. We catch sometimes like mini dogfish. They're like little sharks, and
Yeah.
they can be like 3 or 4 feet long. Um, and then my brother actually caught a stingray one
Oh,
time,
wow.
which was crazy. And but my favorite, what we all want to catch, is the striped bass, the big striped bass, like the ones that you can like keep, but it have to
Yeah.
be like really big in order for you to keep them. So we caught a big one last summer, which was cool. And so I think that's probably one of my favorites, striped bass.
Yeah. Do you have any bucket lists with fishing? Like, I don't know, different types of fishing you want to try, places you want to go to fish, or anything?
I want to like exclusively um shark fish one time. Like just catch like a really big shark. I
Yeah.
don't know why, but it's always like ever since I was little, I've always wanted to kind of do that. But it's quite the ordeal. It's like an all-day thing. You have to get up like at like 3 in the morning, and you have to go really far offshore, and it's like quite the ordeal. But I also like would love to fish in like the Florida Keys. They have some like really beautiful fish. You can catch like barracuda and stuff out there. It's
Yeah.
and
Yeah. You see
all
people
that
like
stuff.
they go on spring break trips or whatever down to Florida, and they go fishing and they just catch the most beautiful fish and really cool fish. That'd be pretty sweet though. If somebody asks you what's your hobby and you're like, well, I like to shark fish. Like, that'd make
Yeah,
you sound really cool.
I know. That's crazy. I like, if
Yeah.
people do it, they have like charters for it. I've never done it before.
Right. Yeah, you want to live Jaws, like
Pretty much.
except for the ending. You don't want that to happen. Like
Oh no, I don't actually want it to bite me. I'll stay away
no.
from it now.
Yeah, you just want to catch it and like say you caught a shark, big shark, you went shark fishing and like
Then let it go. Watch it swim
yeah,
away.
right.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see here. What about I haven't asked this question to anyone in a little while. If they made a movie about your life, what actress would you want to play you?
Margot Robbie.
That was a quick answer.
I don't know. I know that was a quick answer, but like just I've
You
been
just
seeing
got a
all the
thing for you just
trailers
really
for the
like.
Barbie movie and like she's
Yeah.
blonde, I'm blonde, like
Yeah. Do you think she can skate?
probably not. Is she
do you know
Australian?
do you know who can skate? Paris Hilton. Paris
Oh yeah, she
Hilton.
went to Canterbury, didn't
Yeah,
she?
she played hockey in high school.
Maybe
So
it should be Paris Hilton
she's
instead.
blonde. That
That's true.
maybe. But
Hmm.
Margot Robbie's more famous now, I
That's
think.
that's what I was thinking. I wanted something like really, really famous.
So what about if you had to live in another country for a year? Where would you go? You've got to move. You just can't stay here. You can go anywhere else. Where would you go?
Italy.
That'd be pretty
My
sweet.
family's from Italy. And like I'm Italian. My whole name's
Yeah.
Italian. Alessandra, that's my full name.
Yeah.
Like that's very Italian.
Yeah.
Um, and my like great grandparents came over on the like boat from Italy, and I want to go like live where they lived.
Yeah. It'd be awesome. It'd be beautiful. There'd be great food and like culture and it'd be a good life to live in Italy for a little bit.
I would not complain.
No, especially if somebody paid for it. Like, hey, we'll pay
Yeah.
for you to go live in Italy for a year. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
Italy's definitely on my bucket list to go someday. I have a lot of Italian on my dad's side, but
Mm.
I also just like love the food and I think it's beautiful and it'd be awesome.
Yeah, my here's a fun fact. My great great grandfather actually made the first pizza in Vermont. We have
Wow.
I used to own a Italian my family used to own an Italian restaurant in Rutland, Vermont, which is right by the big ski center, Killington. And so yeah, my great great grandfather made like the first pizza in Vermont, which is kind of crazy.
That's pretty cool. That's something not many people can say like, oh, my grandpa made the first pizza somewhere. Like that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
insane, which is like
Somebody like
crazy.
tells you something cool about their life, you can just like pull that out and kind of flex on them and be like, yeah, but did your grandpa make the first pizza ever in the state of Vermont? I don't think so.
Every time we eat pizza in Vermont, I'm like, you can thank my great grandfather for this.
Yeah, honestly. Right. Anyone eating any kind of pizza, you just walk up to them. They're like eating on a restaurant outside you. But you can thank my grandpa for that. They'd probably think you're nuts because they'd be like, "What is this crazy lady walking up to me when I'm eating my pizza?" But like, just walk around to tell people you can thank my grandpa for that.
Yeah,
So
it's
if
true.
anyone from Vermont is listening to this and you like pizza, you can thank Allie's grandpa, and there you go.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Pretty,
that's awesome. That's a cool fact.
yeah.
So what's your favorite food? Something Italian, I hope.
Mm-hmm. I would probably have to say like my mom's like homemade meatballs and pasta and sauce.
Oh
Like she
yeah.
makes it all. And
Is
it's
it
so
is it a family recipe passed down?
good. Mhm.
Probably some secret ingredients in there that nobody's allowed to know.
Yeah, but like yeah, and every time she makes it, it's just uncomparable to anybody else's. And like every time we go out to an Italian restaurant, I don't even bother ordering it because I'm like, I'm not gonna like it as much as my mom's.
Yeah. And then like, you have friends over and they're like, "Oh, can we have the recipe?" No, absolutely not.
No.
It's secrets in that. You
Mm-mm.
can't give
My
away the
mom,
secret.
she does not give it away. She's very
No,
stingy.
you got to keep it in the family, otherwise it's not special anymore. If everyone has it, then it gets out there, and you got to keep those secret family recipes passed down just in the family,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
like
Mm-hmm.
your grandpa's pizza.
Exactly. He was yeah, he had a special recipe, you know? And
Yeah.
then
Do you guys still have that recipe? Is like that been passed down through your family or no? Did that get
yeah,
lost?
we have like the original like recipes from the um restaurant when he first opened the restaurant, and then we have like all the original menus from like the
Wow.
restaurant, all that stuff. So that's pretty cool.
When was the restaurant? Like what's the time frame here on when this was like a thing?
Ooh,
Like early 1900s or like
I want to say yeah.
okay. That's pretty cool.
It's been like a down passed down through a couple of generations, the restaurant at least. At
Yeah.
least my great grandfather.
Is the restaurant still open?
It is. It's under new ownership now, but if you're ever in Rutland, Vermont and you go to the Palms, it's my family's restaurant. Yeah.
Is it still in your family somehow?
Sort of. I think there's like someone we know who owns it, or like a close family friend, but technically no
Okay.
one in my family owns it anymore. That
Yeah.
was pretty recent, honestly. We just had recently sold it, but up until literally this year, it'd been in my family.
Wow.
So it's been at least 90 years in my family,
Yeah.
something like that.
That's crazy. And even if it's under new ownership, it's still open. Like that's still a long time to have a restaurant. Most restaurants don't make it like 3 years. I mean they close and
Especially in
that's
Vermont.
yeah, I can't say I would pick like Italian food as being like the huge like out in Vermont. Like I don't know. Doesn't seem like a huge hub for Italian food, but
It isn't.
except for your family's restaurant. Like that's the we got that holding the Italian food, making the Italians proud.
Pretty much. Yep. Mhm.
What about here's another one. I always try to think of like, I don't know, new questions because I don't want to be boring, like ask the same questions every episode. So the living in a new country, that was a new one. And this is a new one. What if you had to live in another decade? Like you had to go be a teenager, like a college kid in another decade. What decade would you pick?
Ooh, I'm stuck between like the 80s or the 90s.
I
I
definitely think the
really
80s.
like the music,
Of which one?
both. Like my dad's music.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it'd be really cool to like if you could go back in time and like live in the 80s as I feel like as like a kid, little kid, like in elementary school, it would have been sweet. But also like as like a high school or a college kid, it would have been sweet. Like just you could like grow up your whole life in the 80s.
Pretty much. And like
Yeah.
all the clothes that we wear now are all like
It's all coming back. It's all
80s.
the retro, like they're bringing it all back. It's really, I mean, movies. You think about it. There's like a series that like Indiana Jones and like Top Gun Maverick. They're just like taking movies from the '80s and like adding on to them because they were so good in the '80s that they're just
That's what I'm saying.
they can't think of anything new. So like we have to go to the '80s and we'll like just keep on adding to something from the '80s.
Exactly. I just think the 80s are so cool, like the
The
music,
music,
hair, the
the
style,
yeah, and there's like
the cars.
technology, but
Yeah.
like it's not crazy. Like you've got your like Walkman, you're like listening to your cassettes, which would just be kind of sweet. Like it's so different now. You just go on. There's like a new album release. I'll go on Spotify and like oh look at the new Taylor Swift. Like okay, but like back in the '80s, something new gets released. Everyone would probably walk down to the cassette store and buy their cassette. It'd be like if you had the newest cassette, you'd probably be the coolest kid on the block because you had
I know
the
it's like Stranger Things. I always watch
yeah
Stranger Things. I'm like, I wish like they all talked on like walkie talkies. They were like,
yeah. They're
and
all on
I'm
their
like,
bikes, like rolling
yeah.
around, just a lot of freedom too. Like just
Mhm.
doing whatever they want. Life looked cool back in I mean, other than like with Stranger Things, the whole like, upside down and
Yeah, that's
horrible
not
stuff
cool.
like that's not cool, but like the real '80s definitely cool. I
Mhm.
there's not many '80s movies I watch where I'm like, geez, that doesn't look fun. Like I
Ferris
watch
Bueller.
all of
I don't
them.
know if that's 80s, but that's like my favorite
Yeah, that's
movie.
'80s.
Bueller.
Yeah, he's like living the life.
Yeah. I love that movie.
They're awesome. Well, thanks for coming on this episode of the pod.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.